Good morning, children. How many of you are live? Navya, good morning. Good morning. Kanchan, good morning. Sakshi, good morning. So, dear students, kindly confirm is the audio clear? Am I audible properly? Kindly confirm with the text. Aarti, good morning. Okay, thank you, Navya, Sakshi, Kanchan, Arti. So let me begin the lesson today. Okay, you see here the servants of Dr. Sadao's house have already left. Okay, because they thought that they will also be in trouble, and secondly, as a protest, they have left the place. Understood? So therefore, it had some psychological impact on the mind of Hannah, and of course Dr. Sadao as well. So therefore, there is a question on behalf of Hannah. She's asking, why are we different from other Japanese? Why are we different from other Japanese? Why we cannot be like other Japanese? Sadao did not answer, but a little later he went into the room where the prisoner was and said brusquely, okay, brusquely, the meaning is abruptly. He said abruptly, today you may get up on your feet. I want you to stay up only 5 minutes at a time. Okay, so you may get up on your feet. This is what Dr. Sadao is instructing to the American prisoner of war who is getting recovered with the passing of every day. So he is leaving an instruction to the American prisoner of war, saying that you can stay up only 5 minutes. You may get up on your feet, but you must limit your movement to 5 minutes only at a time. Tomorrow you may try twice as long. Okay, so today 5 minutes, tomorrow you can walk for 10 minutes. It would be well that you get back your strength as quickly as possible. So gradually you need to start practicing walking. Okay, if today you limit your walking up to 5 minutes. Okay, and tomorrow you have to double your time duration. Okay, so tomorrow you will walk for 10 minutes. Likewise, every single day you will keep increasing your time duration of walking. Okay, this is how you can gather strength gradually and come back to normalcy. He saw the flicker of terror on the young face that was still very pale, but even though the prisoner of war has recovered, but still he has some kind of fear in his mind, of which I was telling you the previous day. He too has some underlying fear that he might be handed over to the Japanese authorities and his fate be his fate might be at stake. Okay, so he might be given punishment by the Japanese authorities. So even though he has almost recovered, or he is in the phase of recovery, in spite of that he is not feeling very happy. Why? Because there is an underlying tension in his mind. Okay, the boy murmured. Evidently he was determined to say more. I feel I ought to thank you, doctor, for having saved my life. So now he is showing his gratitude to Dr. Sadao. American prisoner of war is showing his gratitude to Dr. Sadao, saying that I am very much grateful to you for having saved my life. Don't thank me too early, Sadao said coldly. He saw the flicker of terror again in the boy's eyes. Again a flicker of terror could be visible in the eyes of the boys, because he has that fear in his mind that his fate will be in danger, because he will be caught by the Japanese soldiers. Okay, and then again his life will be hell. Therefore there is a flicker of terror again in his eyes, terror as unmistakable as an animal's. Okay, the scars on his neck were crimson for a moment. Those scars, what were they? Sadao did not ask. Okay, the scars, because these are minor scars actually, so that is why Sadao did not ask about that. In the afternoon, the second thing happened. Hana, working hard on unaccustomed labor, saw a messenger come to the door in official uniform. So now the real tension has cropped up in the mind of Hana and Dr. Sadao. So what is the tension or anxiety, what made them get anxious? Let us find out. Okay, but Anish, good morning. Pratik, good morning. Good morning. Okay, so if you have any problem in audio, please let me know with the text. Okay, I am continuing now. Okay, in the afternoon, the second thing happened. Hana, working hard on unaccustomed labor. Unaccustomed labor means the hard work that she was not prone to actually, because now that servants have left, she has to do all the household work. Therefore, by unaccustomed labor, her hard work is referred to here. Okay, her hard work owing to the absence of the maids in the house. Her hands went weak because she saw a messenger come to the door in official uniform. So her hands went weak because she thought that it is a arrest warrant for Dr. Sadao. That is why her hands went weak and she could not draw her breath. The servants must have told already. She is just assuming that the servants might have informed, okay, the police authorities already. Okay, therefore the messenger from police authority has come to sort of with an arrest warrant for Dr. Sadao. She ran to Sadao, gasping, unable to utter a word. But by then the messenger had simply followed her through the garden, and there he stood. She pointed at him helplessly. Okay, she was unable to speak, so she just motioned Dr. Sadao with a gesture. Okay, Sadao looked up from his book. He was in his office, the other partition of which was thrown open to the garden for the southern sunshine. What is it? He asked the messenger, and then he rose, seeing the man's uniform. You are to come to the palace, the man said. The old general is in pain again. Okay, so there will be some room for relief for Dr. Sadao and Hana, because what they assumed to be, or what they feared to be, did not come true. Now what happened? The messenger has come with a special message for Dr. Sadao to attend the old general. Okay, because the old general is undergoing some pain. Okay, so Dr. Sadao's service has been solicited. Okay, Dr. Sadao's service has been solicited. He has been instructed to attend to the old general who is in severe pain at the moment. Oh, Hana breathed. Is that all? So it's a huge relief for Hana, because she thought that the messenger has come with an arrest warrant. So therefore, she is now relieved as soon as she came to know that the messenger has come with some purpose, a specific purpose, to inform Dr. Sadao that he should attend the old general. All, the messenger exclaimed. Is it not enough? Okay, so she asked, all, that's all. Then the messenger exclaimed, of course it is. Indeed it is, she replied then, I am very sorry. When Sadao came to say goodbye, she was in the kitchen but doing nothing. The children were asleep and she sat merely resting for a moment, more exhausted from her fright than from work. Yes, because dear students, we tend to become more exhausted psychologically, mentally, than physically. Okay, we are prone to a lot of hard work, physical hard work, but when it comes to mental stress, okay, when it comes to mental pressure, anxiety, we tend to be more exhausted. Okay, so mental strain or mental stress has sort of more impact, okay, in our mind, in our body, than physical stress. Okay, because physical stress, with the help of some rest or some kind of a short sleep, we can overcome. But when it comes to mental, when it comes to stress and anxiety, what happens? It prolongs even after, and it doesn't allow us to take proper rest also, because there is always an underlying tension. Therefore, Hannah got a huge relief, and now she'll be feeling relaxed. Okay, so let's find out what happens after that, dear students. Okay. I thought they had come to arrest you, she said. He gazed down into her anxious eyes. I must get rid of this man for your sake, he said in distress. Somehow I must get rid of him. So Dr. Sadao also became increasingly worried about the condition of Hannah. So he said, I thought they had come to arrest you, she said. And when she said this, Dr. Sadao also became very much worried. Okay, and then he said, I must get rid of this man for your sake, because otherwise you are taking extra pain, you are taking stress. Therefore, I must do something so that I get rid of this man, thereby relieving both of us, okay, from this added anxiety and stress that has recently cropped up due to the presence of American prisoner of war in our house, in our residence. Okay, next Sadao goes to see the general. Now the scene has changed. Sadao will be found to be in conversation with the general in his residence. Of course, the general said weakly, I understand fully, but that is because I once took a degree in Princeton, so few Japanese have. Okay, very good. Of course the general said quickly. Okay, so this is I think this part is somehow abrupt actually. Anyway, here we have to understand, I understand fully, but that is because I once took a degree in Princeton. This is the Sadao's statement to general, saying that I once took a degree in Princeton, therefore I am capable of rendering my medical assistance to you. I have some expertise in the disease from which you are suffering. I care nothing for the man, Excellency, Sadao said, but having operated on him with such success. Okay, yes, the general said, it only makes me feel you more indispensable to me. Okay, so general is now feeling gratitude. Okay, he is expressing his gratitude to Sadao. Okay, he says, it only makes me feel you more indispensable to me. Okay, because you are so important to me, I cannot dispense with you. Okay, I cannot go without you. Okay, this is what the general is saying. You are indispensable to me. It means I cannot go without you. Okay, because you have certain expertise in the disease from which I am suffering. Evidently, you can save anyone. You are so skilled. Okay, so it's a kind of appreciation for Dr. Sadao from general. He is saying, evidently you can save anyone. You are so skilled, doctor. You say you think I can stand one more such attack as I have had today? Then he is confirming from Dr. Sadao, do you mean to say that I shall have another attack of this type some other day, or today? You say you think I can stand one more such attack as I have had today? Yes. Means do you think the kind of attack that I had today, there is a possibility of similar attacks in future? He's confirming from Dr. Sadao, no more than, not more than one, okay. He said no, not more than one, don't worry. Then sir, certainly I can allow nothing to happen to you, okay. Then I shall certainly admit that, I confess that, or I assure you that, I should, nothing will happen to you. The general said with anxiety. His long pale Japanese face became expressionless, okay, which meant that he was in deep thought. You cannot be arrested, the general said. So this, Dr. Sadao has already communicated the message of the American prisoner of war to the general, the discussion of which is not given to us in detail, okay. We are just informed about this. You cannot be arrested, the general said, closing his eyes. Suppose you were condemned to death and the next day I had to have my operation, then what will happen? Who will take care of me, because you are such an expert doctor? Therefore nothing will happen to you. Is because of my own survival, is because of my own purpose that it is important for you to stay alive. Therefore you do not worry, nothing will happen to you, okay. There are other surgeons, Excellency Sadao said, there are other surgeons also, sir. None I trust, the general replied. None I trust, okay. I have trust on your expertise only. Therefore I shall not take any kind of medical assistance from any other doctor except you, any other surgeon except you. The best ones have been trained by Germans and would consider the operation successful even if I died. I do not care for their point of view. Okay, so the old general does not seem to have faith in in other doctors. What he's saying the best ones have been trained by Germans and would consider the operation successful even if I died. Okay, so their training was most of them took their medical training from Germany. Therefore I don't have any kind of faith in the way they were taught. Okay, so because even if I die, they will say the operation is successful. So I have faith only in your treatment. That is what Dr. Sadao is saying. I do not care for their point of view, he said. It seems a bit that we cannot better combine the German ruthlessness with the American sentimentality. Okay, so here let me tell you, here there are two characteristic feature of the two nationalities, like Germans and Americans, which the old general is trying to point out to Dr. Sadao. He is saying it seems a pity that we cannot better combine the German ruthlessness. Germans are very much known, especially the Nazi Germans, okay, during the World War. What happened? Germany was taken over by the Nazi government, so headed by Adolf Hitler. You might be knowing because you have studied in history. So Germans were considered at that time to be very much ruthless, cruel, okay. So he says that we cannot combine the different people like Germans with Americans, okay, because they will not match, okay. They have different characteristics and we cannot they cannot be ever same, okay. They are two different races having least characteristics between them, okay, like German ruthlessness and American sentimentality. Then you could turn your prisoner over to execution, and yet I could be sure you would not murder me while I was unconscious. Okay, here then you could turn your prisoner over to execution, and yet I could be sure you could not murder me while I was unconscious. Okay, I have confidence in your expertise. Okay, and when it comes to your prisoner, so you can turn your prisoner over to execution. Okay, and on the other hand, I shall have full confidence in your ability as a surgeon, okay, that you shall not murder me, okay, even when I go unconscious, because you have certain expertise in your medical profession, okay, you have expertise in surgery, therefore I have complete faith in you, whereas I do not have any faith in other surgeons because they were trained in Germany. The general laughed. The general laughed. He had an unusual sense of humor. As a Japanese, could you not combine these two foreign elements, he asked. Sadao smiled. I am not quite sure, he said, but for your sake I would be willing to try, Excellency. Okay, a kind of some humor is going on, actually, some kind of humor in the conversation between the two, you can say. Okay, so Sadao smiled. I am not quite sure, he said, but for okay. The general shook his head. I had rather not be the test case. Okay, the general said, "You please do not make." It's again a humor part, actually. He's saying, the general is saying, so you please do not experiment on me by combining the two characteristics of Germans and American. Okay, these two combination you do not adopt, integrate, and then you apply the treatment on me. Okay, please do not make me the laboratory of your test. Okay, of your test, because I do not want to die. The general shook his head. I had rather not be the test case, he said. He felt suddenly weak and overwhelmed with the cares of his life as an official in times such as these, when repeated victory brought great responsibilities all over the South Pacific. It is very unfortunate that this man should have washed up on your doorstep, he said irritably. Okay, so old general is also busy, okay, with making policies for his country during the war time. Okay, so therefore he was very much some underlying thoughts were going on in his mind about adapting his future policies of Japan. So that is the meaning. He felt suddenly weak and overwhelmed with the cares of his life. Cares means with the anxiety of his life, because he has also a lot of responsibilities. Okay, therefore with the cares of his life he became suddenly weak as an official in times such as these. Okay, when repeated victory brought great responsibilities all over the South Pacific. Okay, it is very unfortunate that this man should have washed up on your doorstep. Okay, so it is the statement of the general. He says it is very unfortunate that Dr. Sadao, the American prisoner of war has somehow come to your doorstep. Okay, so how to get away with him is something that both of them, Dr. Sadao and old general, will think of right now. Okay, I feel it so myself, Sadao said. I also feel how could I come across this American prisoner, and I also have no answer to that. Okay, it would be best if he could be quietly killed. It could be best if he could be quietly killed, the general said. Quietly, okay, instead of like you do something as a doctor so that he is dead. Means the general might have meant that you give him some medicine or something as a result of which he will die, not by you but by someone who does not know him. Okay, then he said no, not by you but by someone who does not know him. Okay, you do not murder him or you do not quietly kill him. Let him be killed by some other external person, okay, who does not know him. Not by you but by someone who does not know him. I have my own private assassins. Okay, so I can help you with some private assassins. Means hired murderers is called assassins, actually. Okay, the people who murder somebody, okay, in lieu of money. Okay, hired assassins. So the general has come up with a suggestion that I have my own private assassins. Okay, I have my own private assassins, so with the help of which I can kill, I can make arrangements for his murder. Okay, suppose I send two of them to your house tonight, or better any night. You need know nothing about it. It is now warm. What would be more natural than that you should leave outer partition of the white man's room open to the garden while he sleeps. Okay, so the old general is suggesting to Sadao now, saying that it would be more natural than that you should leave. You should leave the outer partition of the man's room open, okay, while he sleeps, so that the assassins can enter and kill him. Certainly it would be very natural. Sadao agreed. Sadao said yes, it will be natural. In fact, it is so left open every night. In fact, it's left open every night. Good, the general said, yawning. They are very capable assassins. They make no noise and they know the trick of inward bleeding. If you like, I can even have them remove the body. Okay. Okay. So old general is suggesting him and also taking his consent regarding killing the American prisoner of war as well as removing the body. Sadao considered that perhaps would be the best. Excellency, he agreed, thinking of Hana. Okay, at least out of thinking, out of his thought for Hana. Okay, who is very much stressed and anxious about the presence of American prisoner of war in our house. So in order to relieve Hana and himself also, he thought that this is the best probable suggestion one can implement. Okay, he left the general's presence. Then and went home. Okay, so Dr. Sadao has left the house of general, old general, thinking over the plan. Okay, in this way the whole thing would be taken out of his hands. He would tell Hana nothing, since she would be timid at the idea of assassins in the house, and yet certainly such persons were essential in an absolute state such as Japan was. How else could rulers deal with those who opposed them? Okay, so Dr. Sadao has decided not to disclose the idea which the general has suggested to him to Hana, because otherwise Hana would be very much afraid of the presence of assassins in her house. Therefore, Sadao has decided to leave it. Okay, leave it, not disclose the fact to Hana, and carry out the murder plan secretly. Okay. And moreover, there is no option. How else could rulers deal with those who oppose them? Means otherwise there is no option for the rulers. Okay, what can they do? They cannot again imprison him. Okay, and he will be a burden. So it's better to kill. Okay, to get rid of the prisoner of war. Okay, all at once. He refused to allow anything but reason to be the atmosphere of his. He refused to allow anything but reason to be the atmosphere of his mind as he went into the room where the American was in bed. So he stopped being humanitarian now. Dr. Sadao stopped being carried away by any kind of humanitarian consideration. Okay, he only allowed reason to regulate his mind. Understood? Because if he allows any kind of emotion to be creep into his mind, in that case he cannot kill or facilitate the murder of American prisoner of war. Therefore he allowed only reason to work here. But as he opened the door, to his surprise, he found the young man out of bed and preparing to go into the garden. Means he has made a lot of progress in the meantime. What is this? He exclaimed. What is this? He exclaimed. Who gave you permission to leave your room? I am not used to waiting for permission, Tom said gaily. His name is Tom. The name of the American soldier is Tom. Gosh, I feel pretty good again, but will the muscles on this side always feel stiff? Okay, so muscles on that side was feeling stiff, so he is asking Dr. Sadao. Is it so? Sadao inquired, surprised. He forgot all else. Now I thought I had provided against that, he murmured. Okay. Sadao is confirming, is it so? And then he was surprised. He forgot all else. Now I thought I had provided against that, he murmured. Now, because he is not concerned about his further recovery, he is concerned about his death now. Therefore, he will take the statement very much casually. He lifted the edge of the man's shirt and gazed at the healing healing scar. Massage may do it. Okay, he said, if exercise does not. Okay, if exercise doesn't work to heal that scar, it will be better to apply massage. It won't bother me much, the young man said. His young face was gone under the stubbly blonde beard. Okay, doctor, I have got something I want to say to you. If I hadn't met a Jap like you, Jap means Japanese like you, I would not be alive today. I know that. Okay, I know that. Okay, so he said he is expressing his gratitude to Dr. Sadao, saying if I had not got such a good, such a kind Japanese like you, Japanese doctor like you, I would not be alive today. Sadao bowed, but he could not speak. Okay, Sadao felt bad that he is planning to facilitate his murder. He felt bad, but he could not speak anything. Okay, sure, I know that. Tom went on warmly. His big thin hands gripping a chair were white at the knuckles. I guess if all the Japs were like you, there wouldn't have been a war. Okay, yes, if all the Japanese were so humanitarian like you, probably there would not be any war like situation as it prevails now. Perhaps Sadao said with difficulty, and now I think you had better go back to bed. Okay, now you don't hang around in the garden, you go back to your bed. He held the boy back into bed and then bowed. He held the boy back into the bed and then bowed. Good night, he said. So you can see, dear students, there are some humanitarian grounds still working with Sadao, Dr. Sadao. He is helping the boy go back into bed. It means that he has not altogether become very much cruel like the Germans. He is not so ruthless like the German. He has, in spite of agreeing to the plan made by old general, he has some soft corner for the boy, which we can understand from this particular activity of Dr. Sadao. He is helping the boy back into bed and then bowed. It means that it is doubtful whether he shall carry out the plan as suggested by the old general. Let's find out. Sadao slept badly that night. Time and time again he woke, thinking he heard the rustling of footsteps, the sound of a twig broken or a stone displaced in the garden, a noise such as man might make who carried a burden. Okay, so Sadao might be thinking about those assassins. Okay, the presence of assassins in his house. Okay, so that is why Sadao time and again he woke up. There is some tension because these two assassins might come, thinking he heard the rustling of footsteps. Okay, footsteps of the assassins, he means to say actually here, the sound of a twig broken or a stone displaced, all this. So a slight sound of anything would have woken him up. Okay, but at the back of his mind the presence of the assassins was going on. Okay, the next morning he made the excuse to go first into the guest room. If the Americans were gone, he then could simply tell Hannah that so the general had directed. Okay, okay. So the next morning he made an excuse to go to the guest room to ensure to see whether the American soldier has been already taken away by the assassins. Okay, or he's still there. If the American were gone, he then could simply tell Hannah that general had directed, okay, the American to be carried away, somewhere, maybe in prison. But when he opened the door, he saw at once that there on the pillow was the shaggy blonde head again. Once again, means that he's still there. He has not been murdered and carried away by the assassins. He could hear the peaceful breathing of sleep. He closed the door again quietly. He is asleep, he told Hannah. He is almost well to sleep like that. Okay, it means he has almost recovered. Okay, that is why he is sleeping like this. What shall we do with him? Hannah whispered her old refrain. Okay, what shall we do with him? Refrain, dear students, you might have got in the while studying poems. Refrains means repetition of the same sentence or similar sentence time and again. So that here the refrain is, what shall we do with him? Because it is Hannah's repeated statements. Okay. or repeated inquiry also you can say to Sadao. Sadao shook his head. I must decide in a day or two. I must decide in a day or two what I should do with the American. But certainly he thought the second night must be the night, okay. But in the back of his mind it is going on that might be the second night. On the second night the prisoners will come, the assassins will come and murder him and carry him from his house, okay. So he is waiting for the second night now, but which he is not of course sharing with his wife, okay. But certainly he thought the second night must be the night. There rose a wind that night and he listened to the sounds of bending boughs and whistling partitions, okay. Sounds of bending boughs and whistling partitions. Hannah woke to. Ought we not go and close the sick man's partition, she asked. No, Sadao said, he is able now to do it for himself, because otherwise if the partition is closed the assassins cannot enter. Therefore Sadao is not in favor of closing the partition. But on the second night also, let's find out what happens. The assassins might not come, okay. But the next morning the American was still there, means the assassins did not turn up even on the second night to carry the to murder the American. Then the third night of course must be the night. The wind changed to quiet rain. The garden was full of sound of dripping eaves and running springs. Sadao slept a little better, but he woke at the sound of a crash and leaped to his feet, okay. The third night also must be the night, but third night also there is some rustling sound and all there, garden and all this sound from external sources was coming, but Sadao at the back of his mind thought that might be the assassins were coming, or might have reported to his house. Sound of dripping eaves and running springs, water and all this sound was coming. Sadao slept a little better, but he woke at the sound of a crash and leaped to his feet. What was that? Hannah cried. The baby woke at her voice and began to wail. I must go and see. But he held her and would not let her move. Sadao, she cried, what is the matter with you? Don't go, he muttered. Sadao, he cried, what is the matter with you? Don't go there, he muttered. Don't go. His terror infected her and she stood breathless, waiting. There was only silence. Together they crept back into the bed, the baby between them. Yet when he opened the door of the guest room in the morning, there was the young man. Okay, the young man was still there even after the third night. The American prisoner of war was still there in their house. It means for the 3 consecutive nights the assassins did not report to the house of Sadao to murder the American prisoner of war and carry him, carry the dead body somewhere else. He was very gay and had already washed and was now on his feet. He had asked for a razor yesterday and had shaved himself, and today there was a faint color in his cheeks. Okay, it means he is gradually recovering. Dear students, he is gradually recovering. So dear students, due to constraint of time I could not continue with you, so I am sorry. The next time, next class, hopefully I shall be able to wind up this lesson, okay, because it takes some time, and I shall also explain you in a bit. Today also I explained you, but actually due to paucity of time, 11:50 I have got another class actually, so I am sorry, I have got to wrap up my lecture here. I shall certainly wind up this lesson the next class, and it's a request to you, do a report on time, okay. Please do report sharp at 11, so that by 11:45 I can I need complete 45 minutes class to be able to finish the lecture the next day, okay. So you please report on time, okay. So okay, so dear students, I take leave now. Okay, you please do update your lesson notes on a regular basis and submit the PDF file of your lesson notes to me, okay. So please do study at least 3 days a week, like what you are studying, how you are studying now. The same way you keep the trend going and study at least 3 days a week English, okay, because otherwise your score will go down. Okay, so bye bye dear students, take care. I don't know.